What is going on, kings and queens of this wonderful wonderland that we call YouTube? We are back once again with another review. This week it is none other than Kong of Skull Island. So, the thing about Kong of Skull Island, the thing about this movie is that in watching it, I realized just how little I know about Kong and his universe, and just how educated I am about the whole thing. And what I mean by that is to say that I didn't actually know that there was two different Kongs. I didn't know that there was two different universes with Kong in them. And the only Kong that I knew existed was, of course, the Kong, King Kong, which is represented in the 2005-2006 movie, where Jack Black is really oddly casted in it. But that's beside the point. And that is the King Kong that I knew about and referred to, if you will. So if there's anybody watching this that knows anything about Kong of Skull Island, as far as, being a thing before this movie, I apologize. I'm just kind of sheltered, I guess. I don't know. But all that aside, the real question of this review is, of course, is Kong still king? And I have to say, honestly and truly, that I preferred King Kong as opposed to Kong of Skull Island. And thinking about it, there's probably a couple good reasons for this. One, of course, could be that as a young kid, King Kong really captivated me. Just everything about it, from Kong himself to Skull Island and the things that were there, just the overall story of King Kong and the way it was portrayed in that movie. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen, to be quite honest, at the young age that I saw it. Not only that, but it was probably the earliest memory I have of ever leaving a movie theater super late, like after midnight late. And I was at the age where if I could stay up past midnight, I thought I was king of the world. And that gave me an excuse to do that. So, yeah, I might have a little bit of bias that resonates with me as a childhood favorite, if you will. But I think the real reason why I have a preference for King Kong as opposed to Kong of Skull Island is Kong himself. King Kong really was nothing more than an overgrown silverback gorilla. But, he acted like a monkey, he walked like a monkey, he had the mannerisms of a monkey, and he was everything that when I think of King Kong, that is what I think of. And Kong of Skull Island didn't really have any of those typical characteristics or mannerisms. There was a couple scenes where he might have climbed along some rocks or jumped like a monkey would or whatever. But really, Kong came across as just this giant bipedal monster. His main way of getting around was just walking wherever he wanted to on two legs, and he just kind of came across as a very cartoony, very CGI type of monster, and he just didn't really register as Kong, besides the fact of it being a really, really, really big monkey. But with that being said, Kong of Skull Island was definitely still a good movie. One thing that I liked about it was that this movie really represented the ecosystem of Skull Island, whereas King Kong really didn't. I mean, it showed giant bugs and a couple dinosaurs and things, But Skull Island really opened up to show the different wildlife that was there. I mean, there was birds, there was deer, there was giant water buffaloes, there was a big squid, there's these lizard things, giant daddy long leg spider type things, and it was just cool to see all the different and bizarre wildlife that was there. And yeah, I think overall, Kong of Skull Island is still a very, very good action adventure movie, and I think it really is what you would expect from a movie like this. Because everybody knows Kong, everybody knows Skull Island, and kind of the mystery that surrounds it. And I'm not going to give too much of the story away, but where King Kong takes place in the early 1920s or 30s, whatever it was, this one takes place in the 1970s during the Vietnam War. And there's kind of a paranormal monster hunter that wants to go over there and kind of explore this uncharted island and see if there's anything there, which of course is your first mistake because you never go to an uncharted island to see if anything's there. And they run into Kong relatively quickly because this Kong, rather than just kind of defending himself as an animal would from being attacked, he just kind of comes smashing in and makes his presence known really, really quick because this Kong really didn't give two shits. So he just kind of smashed everybody up, and yeah, it's really good action-packed movie that really is worth seeing. So I would probably give it an 8 out of 10, and I know that my preference for King Kong is just more personal. I know a lot of people didn't like King Kong. They thought it was weird. They thought it was whatever. But I definitely, of course, have a kind of bias or a preference. But I would still give it an 8 out of 10 comfortably. I think it's something that if you like Kong, if you liked King Kong, if you like the story of Kong, or if you know anything about Kong of Skull Island, unlike me, you'd probably like this movie. I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge to go off of going into the movie other than it's Kong again. But if you're a fan of Kong, I'm sure you'll like it. If you're a fan of action and adventure movies like my family is, there's something to enjoy. The one piece of advice that I would give is I don't think it's a movie for children. I took my 8-year-old cousin with us to see it, and she came out saying, I don't know how I felt about it. It was a little intense for me because there was some jump scares and just some very intense moments that might frighten children. It made me jump a couple times, and my girlfriend. So I guess just be aware if you're going to take kids to it, there's going to be some things that might frighten them. But all in all, like I said, very good movie if you can get past the differences in how Kong is represented and how he kind of rules the roost in this movie. But it's Kong, and what else is there to say other than that? So with that, I think, like I said, good movie, worth seeing it. Do I think it's the movie of the year? Probably not. Somebody might think it is. I didn't, but it still would come recommended as a good action and adventure movie to see with your family. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I salute you, and remember, we're all mad here.